All right, good morning. It is 8:35 on Tuesday, December 12th, 2023. And this is the meeting of the Sandpoint Arts, Culture, and Preservation Commission. And we are now called to order. For the record, I am Chairwoman Ellie Sussness, presiding at City of Sandpoint Council Chambers, 1123 Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. Commission members present today are Hannah Combs, Karen Wiedemeyer, Keely Gray, Rick Decker, Woody Sherwood, and absent are Barry Burgess, Caitlin Shook, and I don't believe Mike is on.
Not yet.
All right. So far, Mike is not on Zoom. Let's head on with meeting minutes approval. I'd like to call for a motion to approve our minutes for the November 14th, 2023 meeting. So moved. I'll second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Any opposed? All right, motion passes. Heading on to the financial report, we do have the number from Sura, downtown. We have 100,000.
These are always tricky so early in the morning. So out of the arts fund for downtown, we have $162,358.31. From the Northern District, we have $91,388.58. The Silver Box Project, the advance to date originally was $18,315.22. With a balance of $1,684.68. So that does reflect all of the costs for this current cycle of the Silver Box program.
Excellent. Are there any questions on that? All right, let's move on then to old business. 5A is art team project updates. We'll start with the arts culture stakeholder group.
Okay, perfect. So I'm going to go ahead, excuse me, move some things around here and share my screen. It has been so wonderful for our arts team to be able to meet twice a month. And I'm going to go ahead and pull up our planning document here. So just like our historic preservation team, we put together a nice little strategic plan, if you will, of arts in the community. And this, of course, relates all the way back to our arts, culture, and historic preservation master plan. And we broke this up into programs and public art over in this section, the planning and public art, and then different city projects. So this is any type of impact where art will be had is on this plan. So where the arts group landed is they wanted to focus right here on creating a stakeholder group for arts. And this is for the purpose of identifying needs and to further support any initiatives for arts. One of the things that's happening coming up, council had directed staff to start planning workshops for zoning. And why I'm bringing that up, let me go ahead and pull up this other slide. There was a recommendation from the downtown waterfront design competition to have a few new overlay districts. And so these overlay districts will be presented and discussed in the workshops that will be put forth. But one of how arts is going to be involved in this is the idea of having these creative districts. Now, these districts are already happening. They're definitely community driven. The Granary District has really self-identified as an arts and culture hub. And then we have here in the red, the First Avenue core that oh my goodness, we have all of our amazing arts organizations such as POAC, Music Conservatory, the Canada. Arts is living there, it's happy, and it's celebrated. So the idea is how, through this planning, how do we incorporate more of that official brand? And what are the desires of the individuals that are participating in those districts as well? Where that's going to lead to is better funding allocations potentially. Any project, we'll have a really good idea of who is at the table and who's participating. So I'm really excited about getting the stakeholder group up and running. So it will be in alignment, and they'll have a great understanding by the time the workshops come. What I'm going to do, our arts team, and Hannah, thank you so much, you put together the foundation of the list of all the arts and culture groups in our community. That includes for-profit and nonprofit. It was so hard to know where the cutoff can be, but we did have some venues on the list, and Karin had a really good point about the fact that they're in historic buildings, so that's a huge contribution to that. And there's definitely going to be some other arts groups like authors and so forth, but we just felt with this list, this was a really fine list. So what I'm going to do is send that list to you all after, hopefully within the next day or two. And then I want your feedback. And then if you have anything to add, please let me know. After that, what we're going to do is move forward and contact these individuals. This is just a, hey, let's get everybody at the table and let's start a discussion moment. This isn't like serious plans or anything, but it's also wanting to make sure that they are involved and they are notified and informed, which is really, really important. So arts team, do you have anything to add to the discussion about the stakeholder group?
No, I think we need to continue to work on defining to make sure the lines are not blurry and that we understand what art is. And I know we had the discussion on plants and other aspects, botanical. So I think we just need to continue to work for the purpose of clarification.
I'm just excited to have everyone at the table, all the stakeholders at the table.
Yeah, it's about time.
Yeah.
Well, that's the biggest feedback I hear in the arts community is that we all need to be aware of what each other are doing. And that's a perfect way to do it.
Very exciting. All right, any other questions or comments? All right, I guess we can move on then. Let's move on to 5B, the Historic Preservation Team project updates. The Historic Walking Tour brochure.
Okay, and I just want to have a little moment of celebration. Sorry guys, I'm gonna have to like draw you through all my links. Here it is. So we had, link for me, my friend. Okay, here we go. Take you guys through a little journey on my screen here. Control E. Okay, so I don't know if all of you saw in the paper this really fantastic story. Ellie shared some amazing quotes representing our group, and it's about the pattern book. And it was just wonderful to be able to share the history of the bungalow and celebrate the education and advocacy work that our commission is doing and that the historic preservation team has been working really hard on. So just wanted to celebrate that. I didn't know if any of you saw this, but it's a really great article and it was on the front page. So it was a huge win.
I want to live there. No, we all want to live in that house, right?
Yeah, and just as a reminder, the bungalow is the foundation of most all housing styles. It is our most prevalent historic vernacular in the community. It's so charming, it's so flexible. Once you see it, you can't unsee it because it's everywhere, and it's still being celebrated through craftsman styles, ranchers. I mean, it's a treat. And I have to say, like, I am newly obsessed with a pyramidal hip roof too. So it's been a lot of fun.
Good. And how's the feedback on the pattern book?
It's been really great. So the pattern book is available online through planning and zoning. It's of course on our sites. It's also up at, unfortunately, Rich went ahead and left and he's working for the county. So he did all of our permits. So we're looking, that job posting is coming up for a new permit tech. So right now the planning team is taking on that. But at his station, there's the hard copies right there. So, everybody has just loved it and celebrated it, and planning and zoning is super excited about it. So yeah, it's been huge. So the next step will be these style guides that will do kind of a deep depth and a celebration of what character means and how character can define different styles, which definitely goes back to social and economic impacts of historical times. But the historic preservation team decided that they needed to kind of shift focus and start understanding furthermore our historic preservation walking tour brochure. You guys are all familiar with this. So we had a really big win this morning at Sura. So I was a little late because I had Sura school drop off and then here. I'm going to go ahead and pull up that presentation that I presented this morning. So historically, this walking tour brochure was funded through ads. And we would do the hustle at an IPA fundraiser. And but this arguably is one of the most important historic preservation resources that we've ever put forth for education within our community, and people love it. People love the hard copy, right? It's something they get to take home if they're a tourist, they get to have in their drawer to understand our history furthermore. But we also understand there's a huge need to put a QR code on it and have that stronger digital presence, which is on our ClearGov page and will be integrated into our new website. But thanks to Rick and his team years ago, I think that's how we kind of first met. You guys generously established it on a website called Pocket Sites, which is still active, and a really great handle to be able to partner with. So that's kind of how the walking tour brochure is out there. But now that we're not just historic preservation, we're arts, culture, and historic preservation, and upon the recommendations from the downtown waterfront design competition, they suggested that we expand this amazing resource. They celebrated it and they said, you guys should put more arts and culture into it. We've also seen other communities do a really good job of injecting art into that history lens. I think Loveland, Colorado has done a really great job with their cover. We were greatly inspired by this cover.
That's so cute.
Isn't that fun? It really, like, it makes you definitely like, this is cool, this is fun, but yeah, we're arts and culture now too, right? So we talked about how do we add more of that arts and culture aspect to it, and let me show you what we came up with. So here's our new version that we're suggesting, a new cover. We're so lucky to have such talent and all of you on our commission. Ellie and Barry have graciously donated their time to put together like talk about it better than I can, but like an urban sketch / graphic art.
Yeah, so we're planning on doing a new cover. The Loveland was an inspiration to make it more colorful and representative of, things happening now. Barry's gonna do some sketching of our historic buildings, and he and I are gonna collaborate to digitize and colorize and come up with a cover that's really exciting when you see it on the stand, and when people want to take it and experience it. And we'll be doing, more layout inside and integrate the QR code so that if people don't want to take the brochure, they can still have the information available on their phone, and it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, as Ellie has said, this has been just kind of a pure historic preservation resource. And there was one program that was done, it was successful, led by historians. But this year we partnered with the LPO Repertory Theater actors, and they injected that arts power into it. We saw great feedback from the community for that. And I think like the world is our oyster with that for upcoming tours. So that's another way that our programming has added arts and history and culture together. We talked about the cover, and then we also have brought up the desire to expand the culture within here. And that would be including the other side of the tracks, right? So thinking about Sandpoint's first town site, which is very important to our community culture. And then the idea of City Beach being a summer village for all of our First Peoples. And then the cultural changes that happened at City Beach. The history there is so rich. When the dams came, they all of a sudden were able to have power over at City Beach, and they were able to control the flooding. All of a sudden, it became the City Beach that we know today instead of City Docks. And so I think there's some really rich cultural storytelling within that. So we are looking forward to adding those additional chapters. We're so lucky to be able to have a partnership with the Bonner County Historical Society and Museum. So they're graciously going to help support some of the research, photos that would be free of charge. We're so thankful for that. And we also are excited to promote the museum and the booklet as well with their contribution. We went down the rabbit hole. So we thought, okay, we're so busy, like doing such great work. As much as we love hustling and trying to get ads, trying to do IPA fundraisers, I think our time is better spent focusing on a great product. So today we presented this to Sura and with arts and culture, because that's what they fund through the money that we always talk about, right? And they have agreed, and there was an action made that they will fund the brochure through the art fund. We came up with a tentative quote for 5,000 brochures was $75.70. The design fees roughly probably would be around $1,500. So we presented the figure of $9,070. Sarah really celebrates shared cost. Of course, we have the partnership with the museum, which is really helpful and supportive for the brochure. But then we also are going to apply for the certified, the SHPO grant, which is the Community Enhancement Grant, and of $2,500, which will be available in the springtime. So if we're able to achieve that grant of $2,500, then the cost, of course, would be lower. And then Sura would, along with the museum and any of our other partners, will be acknowledged in the brochure as supporting this project. And they did ask for character sketches and graphic art images from Ellie and Barry, which was really fun. So they were really excited today about it. They were celebrating it. So I think that is a huge win for all of us to be able to.
That's amazing.
Thank you. I was really excited about that.
Yeah, we're really grateful to Sura. They're always very supportive of the arts in Sandpoint.
It's easy to get that up on the sites, and then you just create the sites, and then you can, say like what direction they go and everything. But yeah, it'd be fun. Like if really all I need is the text and the pictures,
Oh, that's huge.
Okay.
and it would just be fun to load that map with sites.
We would be lying if your name didn't come up in our meeting. Be neat,
If
so
just
excited.
somebody volunteers.
That is
Thank you
huge.
so much. That's amazing. And
For sure. Okay.
For sure.
It takes a village.
Well, we've talked about putting an art tour on the pocket sites forever, but
That'd
now's
be
the
awesome.
time. in conjunction with everything else we're doing. Yeah, that'd be great to have.
And,
that.
and the thing too, maybe we don't have, because we have that list of the art sites and everything, and maybe there aren't the best pictures on there.
Right,
But if we have something to start,
Yeah.
and then we know we need to go back when the weather turns to get a better picture or whatnot, we can do that, but just iterations on these.
And we hustled
We
days
did.
before the weather turned. Ellie and I went out and took pictures of all that we could think of, and we even
Nice.
included some interpretive science too. So I'm so
Sweet.
excited about that. So we talked about that in our arts team. We want to do kind of a bio page for every art piece. So there'd be like a picture where it's located, a little tickler of information, who's the artist, who funded it. Some of that's going to be a little bit more difficult to find, but I think we can achieve that. So that's definitely on the list.
Sweet.
And I love that.
Yeah, give me that info and I'll put it up there.
Awesome.
Great.
Thank you.
What do you have a question?
I just wanted to follow up a little bit with the Loveland, Colorado thing. They're part of a creative arts district in Colorado, and statutorily, the Colorado government has created these local creative arts districts. And there's now 28 of them in the state of Colorado. And they're all a little different, and they're all cool. But the reason I bring it up is that I think it's worthwhile for the arts people in here to kind of browse those websites just a little bit, because there's a lot of good ideas that come out of those. You know, Loveland, it's a city that's not too different from Sandpoint in terms of size and, you know, a lot of impacts around the city and stuff, but, you know, but there's a total of 28 different districts, and so anyway, it's pretty cool. So I just thought I'd pass that on to everybody. If you got a little extra browsing time, that's a good spot to go.
Great, thanks. Yeah, it's always good to look and see what other towns are doing, because there's a lot of great ideas out there that we could probably utilize out of town. All right, any other questions, comments? All right, let's move on to 5C, the culture team project updates.
Fabulous. So here we go.
Go for it, Heather.
Okay, so it's fun to get that team up and running. And it was asked from Maeve, who did an amazing job on the Little Watershed Recreation Plan. And just as a reminder, if you go to our website at sandpointidaho.gov, one of my favorite links would be master plans and reports. And underneath that, you'll see our import comprehensive plan, our plan, so many. But it's actually, this is the Little Sand Creek Watershed Management Rec Plan. And it's actually a plan that we were involved in. We have a whole chapter on placemaking in that plan. It's a beautiful plan. They've put it together. It's a very important plan. And it talks about all that's happening in the watershed and key things within the watershed, some guiding principles. And I'm just going to pull these up here, which are right here. Maintain the quality of Sandpoint's drinking water, ensure inclusive access to nature and recreation for all, respect the flora, fauna, and natural characteristics of the watershed, protect public health and safety, and then create opportunities to learn and take care of the watershed. So these are really, really important. And what this has to do with us, we have our master plan, and I'm not going to go over all of them, but literally every single goal goes back to what we're talking about here. So we are supporting the placemaking, wayfinding, and the naming of the trails up in the watershed. And it's fun to be random and quirky, but I think as we're moving forward and trying to celebrate our culture and our history, it's important to know the why. And Hannah, you really brought up a good point where sometimes we have like a funny name that makes sense to everyone that grew up here, but it doesn't resonate with the people that are visiting. And it's important when we think about culture to think about like, I think about, of course, the Native American tribes that were here, but then we also have our community culture. which is our community's history. And so it's important for the museum to have archives and documentation of why something is what it is. And that's part of the community culture campaign of oral histories and storytelling, and taking that information and making sure that it's archived in the museum. I don't know if you want to expand on any of that, but.
No, I just think, moving forward, as many of those quirky names that we can have some kind of documentation of the story behind them. I'm constantly researching place names in Bonner County and that have really interesting names, but no one can tell me why. So the more documentation we can do on that, the more stories we'll be able to tell in the future.
So what we're gonna do, we want people that are using the trails and that have actually built the trails. There's a lot of recreationalists that have put like their blood, sweat, and tears into these. And so we want to celebrate them, and we want them to feel like they can be expressive with what they feel like the name is. Like there's an old car up there that's called Galaxy. So they've talked about maybe a trail of that. So there's a whole group of people that have come forward and said, we need these trails named. We need them named right now, for safety and for further understanding. But placemaking and wayfinding is a really big phased process. So the recommendations that came out of our culture team is to create a framework for how naming should go in the watershed. And if through this workshop with these community members that want to be a part of this naming process, if they want to name through the framework, if they can achieve a couple of names for the trails that need to be done right now, that could be had. But then there's going to be multiple processes for the future. There's going to be other opportunities for interpretive signage, maybe art, so this is just the beginning. But what it does is it allows us to be able to support all of the recreationalists that are up there and help with the safety and the further understanding. So the idea that was presented, and I'm sorry I don't have a slideshow, the workshop's actually tomorrow and it's at 3 o'clock with this group. And it's a really hard time right now with everybody with the holidays. So Rick, I think you were available to come, and Maeve's going to be leading it, but we're going to be supporting her. And it's going to be a really great group. So we essentially came up with the idea of like a name, right? So you have, let's say I wanted to keep my maiden name because I didn't want to drop my roots. And like, we have all girls in our family, so Summers is going to go away. So it's Heather Summers Upton, let's say, and we do the hyphen. So if we're thinking about different trails, there's two main trails, we have the multi-user trail and then we have the mountain bike trail. If we were to link each of them with a theme, so let's say that animals is for mountain bikes and plants and flora is for multi-user, anybody, even if they're not familiar with hiking or anything, can know if you're on a trail that has an animal, you better watch out because there's a mountain bike coming. And then vice versa. So multi-use is like anytime I see like the service berry in the name or huckleberry, then I know that I'm on the multi-use trail. So the idea of picking like an animal, this is a suggestion, of course, that we're putting forth for the framework, or a plant, goes back to what lives in the watershed, okay? So we have the animals, of course, that live in the watershed, and then the plants, but then we could go even further and we could talk about the use of the first people that were up there, all of the local tribes that would hunt up there. How would they use the serviceberry plant? And so there's an interpretive signage opportunity, an education opportunity that could help support outdoor classrooms and help strengthen the culture. And then we've worked closely with the Kalispel tribe, and they are working on bringing back their native Salish language. And so they have their own language school. And we thought it'd be really fun to celebrate them by having the Salish name for the animal or the plant on the sign as well. So you can kind of see how we're merging culture and history and so many opportunities through this framework. But we don't want to forget about the fun, quirky Sandpoint, as long as we have it documented. So an example is if we have a trail that's just mountain bike, And it actually, if you go to the upper watershed, and I'm really, guys, just scratching the surface because the watershed is a very dynamic concept, okay? But some of the pre-established trails have a name already, like Flow or Corkscrew. So could it be Corkscrew Bear or Galaxy Bear? You know, so we can incorporate that name still. And then there could be the Salish name for bear underneath that. So this is the framework that we're presenting forth tomorrow, and we're going to kind of workshop that. This is an idea. This is a recommendation from the culture team on how to do naming. And what we're doing is we're asking people to be mindful of the 2 master plans at play and our comprehensive plan that we hope to have adopted. So, which talks about adding culture, adding our history, all of those aspects into whatever we do, which is the true emphasis of placemaking. So that's a lot of information at you guys, but do you have any questions?
Well, I love the idea of promoting safety aspects with the different, genres, including keeping the common names, historical common names. Yeah.
We thought it'd be fun, like, if you like Mad Libs, or even thought about like a cookie, like, so how do we? But yeah, from our culture team, I hate to speak for you guys to interject, but we felt it was important that everyone was celebrated. And we thought that kind of surname and the full name concept was a really great way to do it.
I do love the way that you set it up, sort of like a name, but that makes me think it might make sense if I think it makes sense for the Salish name to either be at one end or the other, but maybe if you thought of the Salish name as the first name, and then the maiden name would be like the quirky name that it's been known, and then the last name, if that's the bear or the serviceberry or whatnot, that would be the, like, last names usually are the grouping name that ties different people together. I don't know if that makes sense.
I love it. Yeah, I'll definitely present that tomorrow. And it's going to be kind of tricky because there's no funding for this right now. So it's more like we're coming to the table presenting a recommendation. So right now it's like a post and there's stickers on it. So, and they're like 2 inches. We're gonna let them figure that out. But on the map, it can have the full name. But on the sticker, which is temporary until funding gets interjected into what that, and then there's so many options for like what it can be in terms of what the sign is gonna look like and how the sign interfaces with other projects like this Sand Creek stakeholder group. Like, so that's further down the road, and then there can be a whole design program and all of that. That's the bigger picture, and I can go into details down the road about that. But for now, it's just getting that name that's needed from the mountain bikers.
Right, and that's for safety.
Right, for
Because,
safety.
I mean, that's a vast landmass up there, and it'd be easy to get lost or get on the wrong trail. And there's definitely something needed right now, whether it's
Very urgent.
fancy or not. It
Yeah.
needs something.
Yeah, so maybe like there'll be an abbreviated name on that post, and then on the website that has the Gaia maps. Correctly, I'm learning, I don't mountain bike, so I just got my first cruiser downtown. So this is a big deal.
Baby steps.
Baby steps, yeah, I know how to ride a bike again, but that allows them to be able to like put that officially on there. And then again, like we have so many possibilities from there. And I think we do need to look at, because there's so many stakeholders with the watershed. There's private landowners, there's Schweitzer, there's the city. I'm missing people I know, but that's where we can get that group together, find funding and do a formal placemaking wayfinding program. And maybe it's even something that we team up with the university and they can put it together. So we've seen this done really successfully. Mike Lithgow has shown us a lot of different ways that the Kalispell have teamed up with universities to do this exact program on mountains, and so forth.
Mike's a great resource. We're lucky to have him.
I think it's cool that you guys are kind of developing, you're almost going at this from a scientific perspective, because you're basically identifying like the nomenclature of species and genus, and like you break it down like they do like Latin names for plants and stuff like that. So I'm
Yes.
like I'm picking up on that, and I like it. I think that's cool. Because it helps with having, because it can be really confusing if you have 4 names for one trail, but if you're identifying each of those with, it narrows down what it is. I think that's really,
And consistency.
yes, exactly.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I looked at the, or I talked to some member of POP after our meeting. And we're talking about kind of the categories of trails and then
Oh,
direction, all that stuff. And you're saying that what is it, IMBA, International Mountain Bike Association, that they have a lot of resources as far as naming trails, trail signage, that type of stuff. So they put a lot of work into, researching and developing the best form of communication. So having those guys there tomorrow will be key, because we'll want their info. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
But I think coming in with what the city wants as far as like, the categories and everything, and then if we could, put the little city logo or something on there, on the different signs, like here's the theme. If I'm going into city property, then the city logo is a little bit bigger, and I'm leaving Schweitzer property, so that's underneath, or, coming back the other way.
It's interesting.
Kind of flips it around, so then at least like whose property you were on, and entering, leaving, all that stuff.
I imagine this could be like a 5 to 10 year program down the road, which will definitely lead into like a further understanding downtown's wayfinding, which could look different, and
Right.
yeah, which will definitely be a part of it too, which the downtown waterfront design competition helped with recommendations of ideas. So it's a big thing, but I'm glad we're able to just like address immediate need and then know like next steps.
Awesome. Very good. Thanks for your work on that.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? All right, let's move on to 5D community programming. What's coming up?
Oh my goodness. So here we go. I'm gonna just copy and paste another link. We're just really doing, I know, we're
going
just
on.
celebrating something. We got another spotlight in the newspaper, which is really exciting. I'm gonna pull that one up for y'all. I mean, we could really spend all day talking about all the things that we're doing, right? So this was just in the Daily Bee. It's highlighting the Stories and S'mores events that we had. We had a really successful one at Hickory Park.
It's not on the
Oh, excuse me.
technology this morning.
It's a little rough. Did I get kicked off of Zoom?
It could be why it had that recording in progress little
Okay.
announcement.
But it says that I'm on here. No, I just don't know what I'm doing at the moment. There we go. Thank you. Okay, here we are. So this was recently in the paper. I believe it was Saturday or Sunday, Tuesday. Okay. So it's about Stories and S'mores. So just as a reminder, this is a Parks and Rec program. Jason Wiley, who unfortunately his last day here with our team is going to be on the 15th. Jason served 19 years with Parks and Recreation. He's amazing. And so he had a really great opportunity to work with his mentor in Post Falls.
Wow.
So he's going to transition over there. So he came to me though, and he said, I have this idea about highlighting our parks and highlighting neighborhoods by doing Stories and S'mores. Could we partner with your commission and you guys can support the artist, which would be the local author? So we went further and we partnered with the museum and we partnered with the library, and the museum took on to finding 2 authors and the library took on to finding 2 authors. And so the first one was over at Hickory and it was with Sandy Compton, and that went really well. There were, I think we're over 25 people. And so for a first event, I think that's a really great show.
That's excellent.
Really good feedback. So this Friday is going to be the second one, and it's at Lakeview Park. And the museum recommended Matt Loam. He's a new author in our community, and he tells really quirky stories about woodpeckers. So it will be really fun to promote him and his new book. And I think his wife will be joining him as well. And then there will be 2 more following in January that the library is putting on. And I believe it will be Pam Webb and Paul Graves. So I just love this. I think it's really fun, and I'm really excited that we can contribute by supporting local authors as artists.
Yes, very exciting. I love that it's in each different neighborhood, not just like in one spot. Let's travel around, get everybody involved.
And it's art bringing together people, right?
Yes.
And neighbors, and I love like how we can think about community driven programming that can bring people together. So I think this is just the start.
I think authors are kind of the forgotten artists too, right? That we can't just put their work on a wall and come and admire it. So this is a great way to get those guys involved and everything.
Absolutely. Speaking of that, I'm going to go down a rabbit hole about Traverse Park and thinking about Patrick McManus. I've had fun working with Maeve and the design team, and I'll talk about that coming up. But where can we do more story walks and highlight Patrick McManus as an author about how he had Sandpoint stories that goes back to the family that is supporting, you know, that so generously donating the sports complex. And like, I love the fact of interweaving the art, and like, what maybe there's a quote on a rock, you know, or can it be stamped in concrete? Or I'm thinking like, where can we highlight more poetry and, you know, like through visual art?
Well, that's amazing. I mean, we can, you know, I'm thinking of all of our local artists like Marianne Love and
Yes.
Paul Graves, you already mentioned him. I mean, that could be amazing.
I tried Marianne, she's so great. We'll get her roped in, but she was at 10. She has lots of community
Oh,
stories.
All right, any other comments or questions on that?
I have a question, it's a little off topic, but what are those tiles around town with the lake?
You know, I'm not sure. That was, I think, a rogue art installation. I'm not even sure who did it, but
Okay,
it wasn't sanctioned by anyone.
because I see them, but I haven't been able to like
Pinpoint
figure out
who it
what
was.
the theme is or like what I'm standing in front of, so.
Yeah, where could you explain that?
No,
It's like a tile, what, like this big, it's got the lake on it. Is there anything more on it?
They-
Is
I
it
think so.
QR?
Porcelain
it's
tile?
a porcelain.
Yes.
And
How
they've
did
been,
they get them in there without approval?
well,
They just
they're
stuck
just
them up.
How does that
they're stuck on- they're stuck on curbs and there's
Okay,
no,
they glued them on?
they glued them on
That's a
curbs
safety
and
moment.
things.
Yeah.
And they've been around for like 5-ish years,
Okay.
I would say, but
But we don't know.
we don't know. I don't know.
There's rogue artists.
I like that.
You know,
A little bit upscale version of the stop sign person that put like.
Oh, yeah.
Underneath all the stop
My
signs.
son is always commenting on that, like, and he's a watcher for that, and some of them are.
We need a
little-
coffee table book with those.
oh,
That's
that's
what we do, the rogue artist coffee table book. And that will be great, a further understanding our public art and what we have approved and what needs to be, you know, and kind of going down that, because we also get rogue murals, which are not allowed. So,
all right, well, moving on to 5E, the community outreach city workshops. Why don't you give us a recap on that?
so we're just in everything, which I just want to celebrate. It just goes to show how arts, culture, and historic preservation impacts everything. And I mean, it's been fun because I think it was last week, the whole world's a blur right now. It was just workshop after workshop. So I was asked to participate with the Traverse Park playground design team to facilitate the classroom aspect of the workshop. So what we did was we chose 4 classrooms and I lined that all up. So I chose 2 public, 2 private that were in the proximity of Traverse Park. So that was Waldorf and Sandpoint Academy over there. And then we have Washington and Farman. And it was amazing. And it was an hour-long workshop so we did all 4 in one day, and then we ended up with a community workshop in the evening time. And there was hot cocoa, and the kids' art was everywhere. There were over 88 art pieces. And just to give you an idea of what was done, so we go into a classroom, and there would be different boards about the type of activities of play. So there'd be like the splash pad, and then there'd be like climbing, and the kids could vote on what they wanted. So we got an idea of what the kids are looking for in their playgrounds, that like what's their vision. And then the end product was an 11x17 dream playground that they got to draw. And then we took all of those and we shared them at that open house that evening. And the kids, Rick, I think you can attest to this. Like
Heather came into my daughter's classroom, and I didn't know it was happening, but she came to my office after work and said, we have to go to this workshop tonight.
His daughter did.
Yeah. And then the hot chocolate and marshmallows might have had to do with that
It was like a
too.
full bar, like sprinkles.
Yeah, she loved it. Yeah. So from having you in class, that workshop, and then coming here, it was awesome. She had a blast. It got me here, and I'm somewhat involved with the city too. So it was a great realization too, that this is a good way to get out information to the community, is sometimes through the kids, getting them involved in the park and art, that type of stuff, so that they're going home and telling their dad they have to come to a workshop.
I have to go to the workshop in the city, Jack. Come on. I love it.
And it was great because we sent all that information ahead of time, but as I'm presenting and telling the kids, I was able to send the poster to the teacher right there. And then they're immediately sending it out to the parents that evening too. So yeah, like I found so much success, and I feel like it really paved our way for future outreach for kids and for the community. And I just have some really fun photos to share. So we can't have photos of children's faces as a public entity. So I was really creative about how I took the photos, but excuse me, I'm just gonna kind of click through here. So it was really kind of good. So lots of hands in the back of heads. So Waldorf was 12. Okay, so sorry, Waldorf was, I think it was 15 kids. And then Washington was 2 classrooms, and that was 3rd and 4th.
I was just gonna ask you the age group.
Yeah. I have my statistics. Sorry, today's been a little bit of a blur. I don't want to give you guys accurate numbers because I think this is really important. And it was so amazing to see all the different styles of schools, and I got to know the teachers and the principals. So this is going to be an instant plug-in. So we started off in the morning at Waldorf, which was a combined 3rd and 4th grade, and it was 21 kids. And then we did, Washington was next. And I'm just going to cruise through the photos as I talk. And they had 2 classrooms, and they were both 3rd grade, 44 kids. Wow. But it was amazing. And there was 2 teachers and the principal and the teacher's assistant. It was really well coordinated. And then after that, we had Farman School, and it was a 4th and 5th grade combined, and there were 15 kids in that. And then we had the Sandpoint Junior Academy, which is it's off of 7th Day Adventist.
Oh, okay.
But it's open to the public, and it was in a really neat environment. And so there were 11 kids in that, and they were like so thankful to be included, which I thought was really nice. And this was at the workshop that evening. I thought that was cute. So at the workshop, the whole community could participate. They could do their own drawings. The siblings, I loved yours. The siblings wanted to be a part of it too, so that they could participate. This is Mike Terrell. He was on the ground with the kids and presenting. And it was just, I think it was, there's so many highlights to my job, but I really, really loved this. And then this was Stacy, who's also on the project too. So it was the three of us. So yeah, just really powerful and wonderful. The other workshop, we had two different workshops. It was a comprehensive plan workshop. And I really celebrated that style too. We tried to get the word out. I even saw a poster at the laundromat. And it was really neat because it felt like the whole community came out and all the staff members were there. The different chapters were broken up throughout the rooms. And it was just I liked that engagement style. I thought that was really neat. And Ellie, you were there. A lot of you came. You guys are so amazing. You're always at the workshops and meetings, and I really appreciate that. So yeah, I think the community outreach, there were some really, really positive moments there with the workshops.
What were some of the ideas the kids came up with? Thought I saw a lot of zip lines.
Yeah. Oh, so then I took, and I can't help myself as a designer. So I've been working just a little bit with Nave and the design team, and then I went into all the ideas from Patrick McManus's books. And one of the titles is From A to Z, Zip. And I was like, oh my gosh. So I tried to tie in themes to the storytelling. But yeah, the zip line was huge. Squirting in the water park, being able to squirt other kids with the shooters was really popular. Climbing. Yeah, Cammie, you were a huge help with this. A trampoline.
Yeah.
What other?
Yeah, and that
And we
wasn't,
had to tally all
wasn't
of
even in the photo, and they were all like trampoline.
So
The riskiest thing.
I know.
Yeah.
massive.
The best was the kids that taped other
Yeah.
pictures to it so they could draw the park longer.
Those were a real delight on the copy machine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we have scans of all of them. Would it be hard to share that with the group? Or
I don't know.
I'll see if I
It's
can
on the
somehow
abstract, but
give you a link to that, because I think you guys would really enjoy it. There were some amazing artists, because I think of this as a public art opportunity. We have children that are emerging artists or highlighting them as artists, but they're also part of our visioning process too. So this really works with us and what we're doing. There were some really amazing artists. There was one kid that was cute because he was actually putting how many feet the ladder was, like he's really great engineer. Lots of pirate ships, which I think goes back to the pirate ship that's on, City Beach. So
Pirate Dan would be proud.
Pirate Dan.
I don't know who designed it, but I recently visited the Kalispell's Cultural Center, and they have an incredible playground over there that's really like thematic, and they also have the zip line. So I don't know who the city's working with, but there were just a lot of neat ideas there that tied into like the themes of the area.
Absolutely.
Well, I can see this workshop format working for like event themes, and we were doing a project with teens going in to the high schools and doing this sort of thing, just like Rick said, then it gets everybody excited to, come to City Hall and participate. I mean, I think we just need to get people involved. And what a great way to do it going
It
forward.
was very
It's a
powerful.
wonderful way to get people talking and participating. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, my pleasure. It was a lot of fun. I think it's just the start, right?
Yeah. Any other questions or comments?
We could find out who our little artists are, huh?
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, you need to watch that one.
Little Christmas trees are really adorable. On that.
Oh, they are.
Yeah. This was,
It's so much fun.
it was kind of fun, like just being in the different environments. Farming, there was like a lot of energy,
Yeah.
really exciting. And then we get to Sandpoint Junior Academy and you could hear a pin drop. They were all like this. This is the classroom. And so it was neat. It was also fun to see, like as a parent, all the different environments too. So it was awesome.
All right. Well, if there's no other questions on that, we'll move on to 6A, around the room, commission and staff general announcements and comments. And so I got a little rushed, but I wanted to introduce Pam Duquette. She's an incoming council person, and we met on the campaign trail. and got to know each other a little bit, and so I invited her to come check out the commission, because I hope we can work with Pam, coming up in the next couple of years.
Some great ideas.
So thanks for coming, Pam, and, we appreciate you and your input going forward.
It's coming up soon.
Yes. Any other?
I've got a couple announcements for LPO rep. We just announced that we'll be having auditions for our, can't even believe I'm saying this, 5th main stage production. We're doing Legally Blonde at the Canada in May. Auditions are going to be January 2nd, 3rd, and 4th are general, 3rd, 4th, and 5th are general auditions. And then 6 will be callbacks and dance call or movement call. I don't like to scare people with the word dance. And production will be the end of May, 1st of June. And then the second announcement I have is the fundraiser for that production is going to be our 3rd annual speakeasy at the 219. And that's coming up January 11th and 18th. And tickets are live on our website as well as signups for audition slots at lporep.com. And we're actually lowering the age for auditioning for Legally Blonde to 14. It is a PG production, so we're trying to bridge that age gap and get more kids involved. But I have a feeling that 14 and up would have a lot of fun with being a sorority girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tiny little shout out to Hannah's team for the prohibition party last
Oh.
week. It was nice. It looked like, we didn't stay for a long time, but it was fun when we were there, and I hope you guys did well in terms of raising a little money.
Yeah, it was a ton of fun, and I think any chance to dress up. We had some incredible people show up in incredible costumes. We have one of our young volunteers, she's 13, she's interested in fashion. Her parents showed up at the prohibition party and she had costumed them. She's been working on her costumes for 3 weeks.
Excuse me to this child.
Please.
You're the costume designer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a fun thing to eat.
We're going to do Amal and the Night Visitors, which is children's opera, and that's becoming a tradition. We're doing this every year now. And it'll be happening next week at the First Lutheran Church. And we are highlighting 2 boy sopranos, which are playing the role of Amal. And they're absolutely delightful. And they're living their role. They are their role. So you don't have to teach them much. They just are. And it's they're both 12 and 13. So it's 4 o'clock and 6:30 at the First Lutheran Church, December 21st. And it's really beautiful. It's a real true family event. It's really a wonderful story.
Thank you, God.
I said it at the last meeting, but I took my girls to the haunted conservatory.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, they had a blast.
Yeah, that's
And I had a great time too, getting to see like all the different rooms and all the
Mhm.
work that's been done. So it was an awesome way to see the building as well.
Yeah, right. I think that will be tradition too. I think it will happen every year. So
Yeah,
Did you have great turnout?
we had really good turnout, yes. Mhm. And we have to remember, to say, don't bring a 4-year-old, maybe, or a 6-year-old, because skeletons might not be their thing, right? So we have to kind of probably be aware of what age it would be good for. We don't want to traumatize anybody,
Right. Okay, good. All right, well,
Oh, I got one more.
one more.
I saw I think it's in Denver. They had a competition to name their snowplows.
Oh,
And so it was hilarious because there was a lot of like local plays on words or
yes.
like
Oh, that's
there's a basketball, the MVP of the championship last year. They had to like play on his name, and so I was thinking with ours, maybe we could add that in, some sort of competition to name it for the year or.
Yeah,
Mm.
we weren't able, because we had new trucks and there was some retrofitting moments.
Yeah.
So we weren't able to get the painting done for this year.
Mhm.
but definitely for the spring, but I love the incorporation of naming
should.
and,
Yeah, I don't know if it's
Okay.
just gonna be the moose or the yeti, but
yeah.
yeah, it would be fun to have like the
I love
local
that.
spin on it.
And
with the
maybe
snow.
that will further inform the art too, which could change a bit.
Yeah.
So I love that. And I think branding anything like with that community culture is brilliant. And I'm giving Chet a hard time because I think snow plowing cities is just so challenging in general. No matter how you try to do it, people are gonna have an opinion about it. So he was trying to troubleshoot something and I just walked by and I was like, well, it's probably because you didn't have the painted plows. And that's what, because I
Just all
imagine them
winter
going
long,
down
keep
this,
doing it.
everybody's cheering because they see a moose coming. He's like, great.
Yeti, they need a name.
Yeah, we can name them. Yeah, the fun moose and the yeti.
What if we did like a competition between the schools?
That's a
or
great idea.
Something, right? Like get more engagement and then they get a pizza party or something that wins. And
Great idea.
Yeah, and speaking of that, this is a little soon, but since we're talking about naming, there's gonna be the two sculptures at Traverse Park, the Cougar and the Cub. And it's after the artist who did the famous pig in Pike's Place Market in Seattle, and the community named the pig. So we certainly, as a community, need to name our sculptures. So that's something we'll be working on, and I think a great. So I like how we're thinking about different ways to engage the community, and whether it's a truck or a sculpture. I love this.
yeah, yeah. But the more interaction we can have with the community, then they feel more comfortable knowing who they can talk to in the city and
Oh, yeah.
all that. You know, and what a great way through arts, culture, historic preservation, you know, it's kind of it's not as emotional. Say, you know, so it's kind of the fun way in for community
Yeah.
and then it opens the door for, you know, maybe more serious discussions and everything, but.
No, that's a great point. All right, well, I guess that wraps it up. Happy holidays, everybody.
Yeah.
Let's adjourn.
See
We'll
you
see if
next
everybody
year.
makes it back in for next year.